Well, hey there, friendships. Welcome back to Curtis' Corner. If you're new here, hi, I'm Curtis. This is my corner, and on today's Film Friday, we are going to be talking about my ranking placements for horror movies of the 80s. So if you're interested to see where I placed classic films of the 80s, then keep on watching. Alright, so full disclosure, this is 100% just my opinion. If you don't agree with it, that is completely fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. There is going to be no arguments in my comment section, otherwise you are going to be having your comments deleted. Also, furthermore on the subject, these are only films I personally have watched. I know there are lots of other horror films and thrillers from the 80s, but these are just the ones that I have seen and I'm giving my opinion on. So I do have a list of 18 horror movies that I'm going to be listing for you, and we are going to start from the bottom. My least favorite is American Werewolf in London. Now, don't get me wrong, the effects of the transformation are absolutely fantastic. How practical they are, but yet how realistic it looks. The pain that is showing on the actor's face is really well done. The story, however, was kind of lackluster. There wasn't a whole lot of scares. When you saw the werewolf, it was very much a giant puppet. The effects of that don't hold up today. However, the effects of the transformation into a werewolf do still hold up today. But it's just the story and the acting and just the visual after the transformation couldn't keep my attention, and it just became completely and utterly laughable. On top of that, it kind of just ends. From what I remember, it kind of just ends, and I was kind of just like, that's it. In spot 17, we have Christine. This is a Stephen King adaptation. It is about a killer car. That should pretty much give you all that you need to know as to why I kind of placed it as low as I did. It has a slightly better storyline than American Werewolf in London. However, it's still very lackluster. I know back then they couldn't really do much as to what I guess Stephen King had portrayed in his book. I've never read the book, and I know they're doing a remake of it, so I will probably end up going to see that because I do like Stephen King, and with the remake of it, they definitely did make it a whole lot scarier, and I actually enjoyed it, and I guess we'll just have to see where that goes. However, the effects in this are kind of okay. They're not the great, but they're not the worst. The acting could be way better. And like I said, the storyline is just kind of meh. So that's why I placed it at number 17. So coming in at number 16, we have Children of the Corn. Now, this movie is another Stephen King adaptation, and I remember hearing things that he hated the ending. Now, there's two different versions of Children of the Corn. I have seen both. I prefer the ending of the remake, but the acting in that one was awful. This one, the ending was but the acting was a lot better. It had a stronger storyline. The premise of the film was great, especially considering it was based off of the book. So the whole idea itself was an interesting concept to have. I find the kids, from recollection, acted better than the adults for the most part, which is saying something. And I think the oldest kid was like 17 maybe at the time, maybe 16, I don't know, but the effects don't really hold up. At times the film is very laughable, and that is why it is at the 16th place. At spot number 15, we have Friday the 13th part 2. The reason that this one is in part 2 is strictly Jason's design. I honestly couldn't stand it. I didn't like the beginning of the film where they were like, oh no, it's just a dream, and then it wasn't a dream, but it was a dream, but it wasn't a dream, and then the final girl from the first one dies in like the first 10-15 minutes of the film. So I'm like, ugh, that's bad. I don't like that. I really don't like the design of Jason where he just has like a sack over his head with one hole cut out of it so he can see. I think that's awful. I'm glad they changed the design for future installments to give us the Jason that we know and love today. Storyline was okay. Effects were very practical, obviously, at the time, and they, for the most part, can probably still hold up today as well. Spot 14, we have The Lost Boys. I do enjoy this. You'd probably be surprised that I'm putting a vampire film so low on my list. But honestly, it's not one of my go-to vampire films. I really enjoy it. I like the premise. I like the storyline. The effects of them turning into vampires looks great. Kiefer Sutherland in his role is wonderful at doing what he can with the story. But I find at times the storyline just kind of goes in different directions and can't quite merge every point together properly enough to kind of create a fully cohesive film. Spot number 13 is Poltergeist 2. Honestly, it's kind of bad of me to say. I can't super remember it. I remember liking a lot of it. I remember loving the fact that they brought the original actress who played the girl in the first one back to reprise her role. In all three Poltergeist films, I might add. I just found this one was very odd. If I remember correctly, I believe this is the one where she's like in a shopping mall or something, and some like weird old tall man is like following her around, and he's like super creepy. And that's kind of what gave me like weird vibes about this. Like, why is this man kind of following her everywhere? I didn't like this character. I didn't like whatever the storyline was trying to be. I think if they got rid of that character or changed the character to be something else, I think it would have been a better executed plan and visually representative of what they were trying to go for in the first one. At number 12, I have Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. Now, I like this movie. I've seen it, like, I think 2 or 3 times. The effects aren't great. The acting is not great. And that is why I've placed it so low. It was supposed to be a scarier version, whereas Evil Dead 2 was like a retelling of the first one in different tone where it was more comedic. But this one was definitely supposed to have a more serious tone, and it just didn't come off that way. The visual and the sound effects were bad. I'm sorry. They were really bad and very, very laughable. Like when the tree is wrapping around the limbs of the main girl. No branch or any whip makes that sound in real life. Okay? So no. And then I just remember the line where the one that they lock under the floor in like the little like floorboard to go into the basement. She's like, ha ha ha, being all creepy. All I remember is one of the characters going, "For God's sake, what happened to her eyes?" Look at her face. Her face is more jarring than just what her eyes are. Her eyes are white. That's all they are. Her entire face has morphed and turned into a demon. So why are you just focusing on her eyes and not her entire face? Number 11, we have Gremlins. Now, I like this film. I think it's fun, family adventure. It's not scary in the slightest, but the storyline is fun to follow. I love the creature designs. Gizmo is literally my favorite because he's just so fuzzy and I want to hold him and squish him. But Stripe, which people think is Spike, is one of the best villains from the 80s. One of. However, do the visuals hold up to today's standards? No, they don't. But the storyline is decent enough to follow. The acting could be better, but that is also why I've placed it down so low, is because of the acting mainly. I can't get past how kind of mediocre it is. I'm sorry. We've seen well done acting 10 years prior, and we can't find people who can act like, That's my one pet peeve. If I will rank a movie low if the acting is bad. I'm sorry, I just will. Coming in at number 10 is the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I do like this film. I think Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger is iconic, amazing, wonderful, brilliant. Every Lady Gaga term that she used in that interview However, there are times where the effects, aka the ending with the window scene, don't hold up. You can tell that it is a mannequin or a puppet. You can tell that things are very, very fake in this film. And that's what pulls me out of it. I think it's a very enjoyable film. I don't think it's too scary. But those are the types of things that pull me out of liking it so much and wanting to like it a lot more, is how fake certain things end up looking. Number 9 is the original Friday the 13th. Now, I like the premise of having an unknown killer on the loose, not sure who it is, and then there's like red herrings, and then finally you figure out, oh, it's this person. I enjoyed that. I think the acting could have been done way better. Again, we've seen better acting in the 70s, even in the 60s with Psycho. Why can we not find people who can act? It's a great film. I've watched it maybe 3 or 4 times. I still enjoy it. I still like the reveal of the killer, but it's just the acting that does it for me. That is why it's down low. Number 8 is the original Poltergeist. I like this movie a lot. I think some of the effects could be done better, but for what they've done for the time is great. The acting is okay. Again, could be better, but it's not the worst thing that we've seen on this list. And on top of that, the psychic, the medium, the lady that they bring in to try and find the missing daughter, her voice just irks me to no end. It's like think Trisha Paytas on helium. That's her voice, and I can't stand it. Every time I watch this film, I'm just like, oh my god, please shush her. Please shush her up right now. I can't stand her voice. And I think that's why I've brought this film low, is because of her voice. And I know she can't help it. It's her voice. But the casting crew could have. But it is a fun film. It's very enjoyable to watch. I enjoy the practical effects that they used. I enjoy the set pieces that they had, and the storyline. Super straightforward, super simple, and there are some genuine scares, whether it be visual or auditory, that kind of help this film along. Number 7 is The Shining. This is honestly one of my favorite films, which is why it's in my top 10. I have watched this film maybe 4 or 5 times. It is so good. Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance kills it, hits it out of the park all the time. Shelley Duvall, not my favorite portrayal of her character. I find she was very whiny, very annoying, very scatterbrained. And I know a lot of that had to do with Stanley Kubrick and doing take after take after take after take after take after take after take. But Shelley Duvall was not a good choice for this role. The kid who played Danny Torrance was okay. He was just kind of there. And I know there's a lot of controversy about this, where everyone loves the film, everyone likes the book, but that they're two separate things, and it's not actually the one in the same, because Stanley Kubrick was just like, basically, see ya, Steven, I'm going to get rid of all of your ideas and just come up with my own instead. Which I think is not a good thing to do, especially if you're trying to acquire the rights for the movie from the book of the author that you're taking inspiration from. So you should probably stick relatively close to the source material, but that's just me. Nonetheless, it is still a fun, interesting movie to watch with some great acting, and the visuals in it are going to mess up your mind. At spot number 6, I have Aliens. This is the sequel to Alien, still with Sigourney Weaver reprising her role. This one ups the ante so much more. It makes it more of an action, and I think that's why I kind of placed it lower than top 3. I love this film. Again, I've seen this film like 4 or 5 times. I think it's great. It just dumbed down on the scares and brought up the action. I do think it's a better story and better visually done film than The Shining itself, which is why I've placed it higher. However, because it's not so much a horror anymore, and now we're getting into the like more action side of things, I have brought it down because I was expecting it to be more horror like the first one. Now the moment you've all been waiting for is the top 5. So coming in at number 5, we have Creepshow 2. I think the stories in this film are not as good as Creepshow 1. However, the acting is better in this one, and I like the visuals a lot more in this one. They've upped, I believe, their budget, and you can tell with what they're trying to do in this film with Stephen King and George A. Romero. Coming in at number 4, I have the original Creepshow. The storytelling of this, how it kind of revolves around a comic book and it's like telling a story within a story. I love that aspect of everything. And I think for the time, while the acting is okay, the stories were much better handled in this film. And the visuals can still, for the most part, hold up to today's standards. Coming in at number 3 is Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, where they reveal that Laurie and Michael are actually brother and sister. I love that plot point. I'm sad that they retconned it and got rid of it in Halloween 2018. However, the one and only downfall with this is that Laurie is pretty much sidelined and stationary to a hospital bed the entirety of the film. She does have her moments where she does get to move around and run and be the final girl again, but it kind of did Laurie a little bit dirty in this one. But the visuals, especially the ending with the fire, is just astounding. It is so well done. And again, the acting is just, it's good. It's scary when it needs to be scary, and it's not when it doesn't need to be. It doesn't give you false scares and make you on the edge of your seat and then do loud sounds like other horror movies. It is well executed, and John Carpenter does a magnificent job in every portrayal of his Halloween films that he has been involved in. Coming in at spot number 2, we have Beetlejuice. Now, this is not exactly horror, whereas it has horror elements. I love this film. I can't not put it high. It is so fun. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice is iconic. I love Catherine O'Hara as Lydia's mother. I can't remember her name right now, but anyways, her. I love Winona Ryder as Lydia, and Alec Baldwin, and can't remember her name, but the ghosts in the house who befriend Lydia. Love them. They're so good. The storyline is fun. It's a little rushed at times, I find, but the visuals are fantastic. They can get a little kooky. They can't really hold up to today's standards, but it's almost like because of how fun and enjoyable the film is, you almost forgive what is happening and like the time difference. And honestly, I can't wait for Beetlejuice 2. I mean, hello. But now, my number 1 film ever, I love it, and I've seen it like 8 to 10 times, is the original Child's Play. I love this film. It is so good. The suspense that you feel when people are about to get murdered, you don't know kind of like what's happening, who's doing it, if they're like pretending to use a doll or not. Just everything about this film until the final reveal is great. And then you end up laughing because it is just a doll that's going around killing people. And that is honestly funny because when you see his little feet just go boop, 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 boop across the screen, you laugh because it's the most ridiculous looking thing. But the animatronics, the realism that they use in it, it's so good, and it does still hold up to date. Yes, it has to do with magic and voodoo, which is a little strange and far-fetched, but still, the visuals, not having any CGI, having it all practical effects, works wonders for this film. And the acting, even from the child actor, so well done. And I will continue to love this series and watch it over and over and over again. So, that is my ranking list of the 80s. Top 18. If you agreed with any of my choices, if you disagree and would like to name me how you would order these, leave the comments down below. Don't forget, like this video if you enjoyed it and my thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I put out weekly videos, and hit that notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video, because if you don't, how else are you going to know when I post a video? You won't. so do it. I will see you on Monday for a new makeup review that I was supposed to do this past Monday, and I couldn't. So, gonna try and do it this weekend if I can. Hopefully I can. So, I will see you on Monday. But until then, goodbye, friendships.